Okay, we're live and recording.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. We welcome all of you this evening to our business meeting, the first meeting of the month. We're grateful to have you here, and on behalf of the staff and the City Council, welcome all of you here. This public meeting is being held electronically in accordance with House Bill 5002, Open and Public Meetings Act amendments signed into law on June 25th of 2020, pursuant to a written determination of the chair finding that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present due to infections and potentially dangerous nature of COVID-19 virus. Public meetings will be held electronically for the next 30 days. The YouTube live stream of the meeting can be found at the following address. And those of you who are joining us with Zoom have the Zoom link there and you've used it. And that Zoom meeting address link is available on our website or on the agenda. So I would like to call this meeting to order this evening. I've asked Corinne if she would lead us in a thought or an invocation, and Seth, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you that we can gather together as a city with our leadership and residents. And we pray, Father in heaven, that thou will please be with us. We pray for kindness in our homes, in our community. We pray for understanding despite our differences, and that we will make the best decisions possible. We thank thee for thy Son and his gift of grace to us. And this we say in his name, Jesus, amen.
Amen. Will those in attendance please rise and repeat after me? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the
United States
of America
and to the republic
for
which
which
stands
stands
one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jordan, thank you for providing the flag. Appreciate that. Council, we have the agenda before us. Before we adopt it, I'd like to move one item in our consent agenda out to discussion after the consent agenda. Item number D, at the request of staff, they would like to address you on a couple of proposed changes before that is adopted. So I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with that change.
So moved.
I have both a motion. I have who gave me the first? Lisa, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries, council. Cassie informed me just prior to the meeting, and also you council members, that there was no email comment and public comment this evening. Therefore, we would open the meeting up to public comment. If you have something that you would like to address the council on, we would welcome your coming forward. And if you would either raise your hand or raise your hand physically on the screen, then wait to be recognized. We'd allow you 3 minutes. If you state your name and place of residence, that would help us too. So are there any joining us through Zoom that would like to address the council?
I'll do that
I
one.
see a raised hand from David Lewis.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
Can't you get the picture?
David?
Yes, good evening, council. I'm on the consent agenda items, and it's our last phase. So I just wanted to hop on and say thank you. It's been a great 4 years working with you all, and the Criddle Farm subdivision has been great. I appreciate you, appreciate the staff, and your great city. So I just wanted to say thanks. Mayor, you also as well.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Mayor, I saw a hand from the Blickfelds.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, I'm Chris Blickfeld and my husband Tim is with me. We have an agenda item number 12 today. It's about a purchase contract, which has already been approved in the previous sessions, I guess. But so we own the property on 508 West, and shortly after we moved in, we found out that it was going to be acquired by the city for purchase for the road construction. Anyway, so we kind of worked a deal. We didn't want to leave that house, but we didn't want to stay there knowing we wouldn't be there forever. So we came over to the 555 property with the intent to purchase that within 6 months. Then COVID hit, things kind of went crazy. It says in the thing that we had financial difficulties, which we really didn't. It was more job things. So I'm a nurse, and one of my jobs that I had reduced my hours because of COVID, because our residents dropped. Anyway, long story short, so it wasn't that, but lending requirements right now with COVID are a little bit stricter. So it has taken us some time. Yes, we've gone back and forth with signing and different things like that, but we just wanted to let you know we're here. We love this house. We don't want to move again. So, and if you have any questions about the contract or any part of this, please let us know, and we'd be happy to answer them. Okay.
And Chris, I would suggest that maybe you stay with us, because when we get to that item, we'll allow you to discuss that too.
Okay, that would be great. We're here for the
Okay.
duration.
All
So
right. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to address council? Cassie, are you seeing anything that I'm not seeing?
No, I don't see any others at this point.
Okay, I will close public comment. There'll be an opportunity to again address the council at the end of this meeting. Council, we have before us the approval of the minutes of January 12th, 2021, the business meeting, and January 26th, 2021, the work session meeting. Any discussion? May I ask for a motion?
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve said minutes.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they stand accepted. Thank you. The consent agenda, as I mentioned, we want to pull D off. Let me just read through those, and for the benefit of residents who are attending that have not been in all of our meetings, many of these things we've come to a position of unity in work sessions, and so we have placed them on a consent agenda to limit the duration of this meeting, realizing that we did have common consent. Item number A, the preliminary plat, final plat, and development agreement for Distance Serenade subdivision located at approximately 2866 South, 3000 West, and you heard the comment that was made earlier about that one. Item B, the final plat of Criddle Farms Phase 5 located at approximately 4000 West and 700 South. Item C, the proposed ordinance 2021-04 amending section 1030-010 of the Syracuse Code pertaining to building identification signage for fire response purposes. Item E, authorize administration to execute memorandum of understanding with West Point City for participation in the Syracuse Youth Court. Item F, authorization of the administration to execute water sales contract with Weber Basin Water Conservancy District for the purpose of irrigation water for municipal use. And item number G, proposed resolution R21-02, appointing city council members to various committee positions and assignments. Is there any further discussion, council, or can we move those forward?
I just have one quick question.
Yes.
On the estimate for the, I don't know why it was in the packet there, but for the Accurate excavating for Distance Serenade, there's an item on there that's been crossed through, installation of a backflow preventer, and just wondered why that's redlined or crossed through.
Noah, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. And maybe Robert will have more information, but from what I understand, that there is some sort of really expensive one, and then they were able to, Tracy Teeples, the developer, and our city engineer, Brian Blowman, were able to agree on a less expensive one.
Okay, so they're getting one installed, just not at this price.
That's my understanding.
Okay. I know that they're very important though, because several people in our community have had backflow flooding. So thank you.
I think Tracy is on the meeting too, if you did want to ask him if I got it wrong. But
Yeah, Noah. We originally had the backflow preventer in there when we were entering the ditch at a higher point, but now the elevation changes so much lower from where the houses are to where the exit point is that they said it doesn't need a backflow preventer anymore. It's too low.
Okay.
thanks for the correction.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those consent calendar items are now approved, Cassie, and they were approved unanimously. Let's go to D, and I'd like to turn some time over to both Paul and Noah. Paul, do you want to lead us out?
Yeah, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for letting us look at this. As we were considering this ordinance change, it occurred to me after the packet was done that, we have a couple of zones that have very specific dual applications, and that's the PRD and the RPC, where they submit with general plan, the concept plan for review, and then also when they apply for the zone change, they have to do a preliminary plat with it. So rather than have any confusion in the code where you've got, one part of the code saying that the planning commission is the land use authority for preliminary plats, and another part that says the council is the land use authority for this specific dual application, I'm going to recommend that we add in just a couple of spots where we specifically call out, except as provided in the PRD and RPC, the planning commission reviews the preliminary plats. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, just to avoid confusion, I think you could legally argue like, okay, hey, it's more specific, but better just to avoid the argument and have a clear ordinance, I think. So I don't think we have a red line version here for you, but what I would recommend is we would add the words, quote, except preliminary plats in PRD and RPC in that box that in section 1020.140 that talks about subdivision applications and plat approvals. And then just add a row below that. So insert a row just below that row that says preliminary plat approval for RPC and PRD zones, and then list the city council as land use authority. Oh, thanks, Noah. Well, that's my email. Oh, I was going off that. Okay.
Is that okay that I'm showing it?
Sharing
Yes!
my work product. Okay, and then adding the phrase except as provided in section 10.75090 and 10.82.080 in section 825, and that's just at the beginning of that section that says planning commission reviews and approves preliminary plats. We were looking at the MXD because that has kind of a similar dual approval process, but that is it's a site plan, so it doesn't have preliminary plats. So anyway, with those recommendations, we still support the ordinance and everything. I just thought it'd be good to get that cleared up and cleaned up earlier.
Good.
Council, are you okay with moving this forward, or would you like to discuss this in a work session?
I'd like a chance to review this further, because if we have this loophole here, I want to make sure there aren't others.
All right. Okay, can I get a motion from you to table?
I make a motion that we table this.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that sounds unanimous. Cassie, would you put that on the work session for review, the upcoming work session? Okay, council, we're at item number 5, and I'm going to take the lead on this one if you'll allow me to do so. This is a proposed resolution R21-04, appointing and reappointing members of the City Parks Advisory Committee to their positions. We heard already from the Blickfelds, and we were with the Lindquist mortuary folks yesterday about the effect of COVID. on about everything that we've had, and the appointments to the PAC in our city are no exceptions to that. What I have learned is that we should have reappointed a few people back in July, and we've had some people leave. So council, what I'm proposing is that we reappoint all 5 members of the PAC to different terms of office, so that we get ourselves back on schedule. Alan Newberry and Terry Palmer's current appointment would go until 2022, but we missed them in reappointing them in July. So I'm asking that your consent to reappoint them until next year when their term of office would be over. I would like to appoint Doug Peterson and Jeff Gruss and Dave Hansen to a term that would end in 2023 in June of that year. And what we'd effectively be doing by resolution is reestablishing all 5 of those positions, but with different terms. Now, have I confused everybody? One other change that we have made is that we have asked Dave Hansen if he would serve as the geographical representative to the Northeast District, where he was at large prior to that. And Doug Peterson will serve as the at-large appointee to that advisory board. So, any questions? And Jeff is with us. Jeff, wave. Jeff is with us. Anybody like to visit with him about anything while he's here?
No, I just want to thank people who are willing, to participate. So I think it makes sense. I guess what you had said, if I understand you correctly, Mayor, you're basically just saying that they would be serving through these had we appointed them on time without
Yes.
kind of the interruption of COVID. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Makes
that's the case with Terry and with Alan. The other 3, these are new appointments for a little over 2 years. So Jeff will be serving with us 2 years plus a few months. And so will Dave Hansen, and so will Doug Peterson, to get us back on track.
Jeff, I just
Great.
want to say that's an impressive resume there.
Oh,
And I-
well, thank you.
Did you really go to those places? And you really, thank you for being highly qualified in every way and choosing to serve and volunteer for the city. I appreciate that.
Well, and it's my first city post, so please be patient with me. I've not worked with government before, so it will be a big learning curve, but I will do my best.
I'll be working
But-
with you on the committee. I look forward to it.
Wonderful.
I was gonna
Thank
say you might have to be patient with us, Jeff.
Yeah.
That
Well,
might
we'll
be the
see if
real
it goes
challenge.
both ways. It'll go both ways, I'm sure.
Okay, if I haven't confused you, I'd entertain a motion.
I just wanted to say that, I welcome some new people on this committee. A couple of years ago, we brought up the fact that one person had been on this committee, basically, whether from the council or from a citizen's point of view, for almost 20 years. And it was said, well, maybe when the chance comes, we'll let somebody else have a new opportunity. And here we are reappointing that person yet again. So I just think we owe it to some people to give them a chance, and putting the same people back there, year after year after year. I think we could, there comes a point when we need a change.
In fairness to those that applied, that this notice was placed in the Connection magazine, and Jeff and the person you're speaking about are the only 2 that applied.
Grateful to have them.
Yep.
Yep.
I'd
And
entertain-
maybe with COVID next year changing, maybe more will be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the appointments to the Park Advisory Committee as stated.
Okay, it's first. Do I have a second? Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Cassie, would you record that? Record that 4-1.
Brody has 2. Brody.
Record that 4-1
Okay.
with with Dave, the dissenting vote. Okay. All right, let's go on. Let's go on to item 6. A public hearing, proposed resolution 21-01, adjusting the Syracuse city budget for fiscal year ending 2030. And Steve is on vacation. Brody, you're going to pinch hit for him.
That's right. You got the B team here on this one, so I apologize. I think it's easier if I share my screen. I'll just show you the. We'll go to here to the spreadsheet on the bottom of what's going on here. So this budget amendment comes to us mainly because of two things. One is new projects that are development driven, and sometimes it's hard to plan exactly when developers are going to do their projects. So we're adding 2 projects here to our laundry list of capital projects in the city. And then the other issue comes just due to a change in the budget amount based on the bid that we received. So starting with Grayson Ridge is a development in our city, same with Distant Serenade. Both of these projects, they are putting in, so the development has to put in storm drain improvements, but they are only required to build what their development needs as far as the flow. Anything in excess of that needs to come from the impact fees. So this is an adjustment to the storm drain impact fee budget so that we can basically build these stormwater pipes bigger than what those developments are required to build. And that way we'll be able to handle all of the flow and all of the from current and future growth that comes. The public works shop improvements, this is all about the wall that is going in. Your next item, I believe, is going to be an authorization for the contract on this project. It also includes some improvements over public works for the RV sewer dump, and there's some culinary water realignment that has to go on with it. Essentially, it's an increase to all of the budgets involved of about $15,000 each to cover the cost because the price of the contract came in higher than what we estimated on the budget. Good news is on there are other projects, specifically the 1200 South project, where we came in where the bid came in lower than budgeted. So I think that was $125,000 lower. This project came in about $75,000 higher. So we still end up better, but that's what the adjustments are for.
Okay. What I would like to do now is open this to public comment, a public hearing this evening. If you have comment and you'd like to respond to the council and you have opinion, anytime we talk about money issues, we have to hear from the public. So I now declare that we're in a public hearing. If you'd state your name and place of residence, and we'd ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. So we're now in public hearing. Cassie, do you see anything?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, I will close public hearing and council open this to your discussion. Let's see. Councilmember Bolduc, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. I think that's a really good plan. I'm grateful that we have a way to kind of disperse some of that spending. And we need to, if we put off building this wall now, this is going to get more expensive, I believe.
Okay. Any other comments, council?
I'm not so worried about the wall. I think that we're doing the right thing, and I think it all is going to work out. I am concerned about where we have to make changes for the future of the city. Our ability to recoup those costs is we've kind of talked about this before, and in some cases there is a way, and others maybe not. Is there a way here where the impact that we are preparing for can be borne by that later development that is justifying this expenditure?
Yeah, so generally, I don't know, I'll refer to Robert on the specific timing of future development for these stormwater improvements on, are you referring to Grayson Ridge or Distance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that we need this and the time is right to do it while we're doing it.
And
Sure.
isn't it economies of scale having them help out with that?
Well, I agree that all of that is in place. My only concern is that in general, we require developments to pay for themselves for the addition. And in the case where we have to do things ahead of where that need is being created, we'd like to be able to recoup that. And we have in some cases. I can think of a couple of places where we put in sewer connections that later the people who would purchase and develop the land would have to repay us for that, so that we didn't have to open roads again. But again, whenever we have to do something ahead of the ability for that person to pay for it, my question is, what is our ability to recoup that cost later when that developer comes along?
In this scenario, would you?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, okay. So in this scenario, would you, I mean, the most you could ask would be the price of like a vinyl fence. You're not going to get them to pay for a cement wall.
I'm not talking about the fencing, I'm talking about the storm drain.
The storm drain.
Okay.
So
Other
let me,
fencing.
Robert, before you go into this, let me just describe, generally speaking, budgetarily with impact fee funds. And then we can get into how that actually plays out with this project. But generally speaking, impact fees roll on like a citywide basis to where we don't actually get recouped. It's just the fact that previous development has paid impact fees and we can use it wherever we want. And this is where we're going to use it at this time. Future development will come in and they'll pay impact fees, and that might go near their development, but it also might go to the other side of the city. That's our option if it's as long as it's in our impact fee plan.
If you're saying that this is not specific enough to be able to recoup, I can accept that, I guess, as the position we're in. But I have to bring it up just in relation to where we had very specific fees that we could then charge to the development when it came about. And so if you're saying that this is just not specific enough, I guess that's the way this falls. And I thank you for at least letting me address it, because I want to make sure we recoup all of the development impacts from the development as possible.
Yeah, and unless the only difference in that scenario is if there's a specific, it's typically called a pioneering agreement, where the city might overbuild something for future development, and then those developments pay into it over time. But as far as I know, Robert, that's not what's going on here. Is that correct? Or is there a pioneering agreement?
There is not a pioneering agreement, no. In this case, let me just share my screen. I think this will help, if you don't mind.
One other thing, Robert, while you're getting that pulled up, to consider in the IFAs, the impact fee analysis, they look at not only future needs, but they also look at capacity. So if we have something that's over capacity, then they actually charge impact fees for future development that will use that capacity and fill that capacity. In addition to having impact fees you've collected in the past, and we're also going to be collecting impact fees from this development in the future. If we have capacity, then future development helps pay for the cost of that later, if that makes sense. So it goes in one big pot, but yeah, that's something that the impact fee analysis does look at.
And since this party, the water looks so fun, I just got to jump in too. If I can make a comment. So with this particular case, we had shoreline going next to essentially industrial use. And so we have a buffer ordinance that does require certain things depending on what's going into what, right? And in this case,
hey, no, I think we're talking storm drain right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
Going back to fencing, because really, I
sorry, I
openly
thought you
accept
guys
that
were still talking
fencing
about
is our issue.
No, we're talking.
We're
storm
the
drain.
ones that have the need. It's not borne by the development. I'm okay with that one. It's the storm drain, because the storm drain is that's something we would require a new development to manage.
So
Okay, never mind.
what
Thanks,
I've got
Matt.
shown here is a part of our storm drain master plan, and this had to be put together before impact fees were even determined. Okay, so what I'm pointing at here, my cursor is Grayson Ridge subdivision, and it drains. Currently, it drains right out. It's one of these lines out here. I think it's this line out here, straight out west through the field that the North Davis Sewer District owns, in a ditch out to 4,000 west, and then it's a ditch down to 2,700 south. So now that Grayson Ridge is expanding, they can only gravity flow, so they need to move that discharge point, and we don't want a ditch. We don't want them to just move a ditch. We need that to be piped. The storm drain impact plan shows that being piped. A future development is not something that we're anticipating on North Davis's. This is Black Island Farms that is leasing the land. We don't anticipate future development piping this and then down 4,000. So this would be, it is a 42-inch pipe. Grayson Ridge, their development will only generate enough for 15. However, this ditch is handling more than just Grayson Ridge. It's everything upstream of there, clear up to Antelope. So that's why it needs a bigger pipe, and Grayson Ridge shouldn't have to pay that, but we need it as a city for improvement. Does that help at all?
I
That helps me,
understood that part, and it does make it clear that there's no other development that's going to build on that we would be able to account for this. What you're saying basically is that existing need is what's driving the bigger side, and in that case, I guess impact fees would be the only place we could take it from.
That is correct, yes.
And it is, I think you could argue, the existing homes that are to the north of Grayson Ridge, when they came in, they paid impact fees for stormwater.
Right. And we didn't end up putting the pipe in. We ended up using a ditch. In this case, we're ready to go to pipe. And okay, I accept where we're at now. I just being cautious with our cash.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think it does help to just show the picture, but good question. Thank you.
Well, David, I think from those listening in who haven't been part of this discussion forever, I appreciate your comments, because I think that's made it more clear for those on YouTube and those who may not have been involved in any of these prior discussions that are there. So thank you. So council, we have
With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Let's go on to 7. And Dave, would you be ready with this one? Then Robert,
Yes.
would you lead us out here?
Robert, you're on mute.
I know, I was trying to get my cursor over there, but thank you. So the public workshop wall, that's what we're on. All right. So this has been bid out, and we had one bidder. It was that put in for this. And
here, I'll share my screen, Robert.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at my other notes. Thank you. Okay, yeah, there were 5 plan holders on this, but only one was interested in bidding. It was Wasatch West Contracting. Their total bid amounts $198,166, a little higher than what we estimated, but here's where it lines out. Our original budget, or what we currently have in the budget right now that's been approved, is $220,000 total. So in our current budget, we have enough to cover the cost of the wall. However, we would fall short in some of the other areas that we plan, like the RV dump and storm drain outfall and a water fill station. So with that, we would need 75,000, which if you split it across the 5 funds equally, it'd be 15,000 per fund to make it a 295,000 total budget for all of the items. So we have approached both Woodside Homes and Wasatch West to look for ways to try to recoup some of the costs. And looks like both of them are willing to work with us on Woodside mentioned they'd be willing to do a payment in lieu of them what they would have spent for a vinyl fence along our south border. And Wasatch West had some items that they were willing to work with us on if we were to do some labor on things like construction staking and storage and disposal, things like that. So that was a positive thing. There's about 19,000 savings, and we'll still seek that on top of this anyway. So that is where we are at. I don't know if you have any questions.
I always hate it when we only have one bid because you'd like to have something to compare to, but I do recognize, having been in the industry, that when you only get one bid, you only get one bid. Our options, I guess, are to try and put it back out to bid to get a comparative bidder, or just accept what it is. And if we were on budget, I would be more comfortable with that, but I do recognize that we have to get this work done. It is benefiting the city. I'm a little nervous. It's a little out of the buffer zone of where I would just say, hey, it's pretty close to our estimates. If you got a good reason why it's considerably over, where maybe our engineering fell short of something that didn't get included.
Yeah, so the cost of concrete has gone up considerably higher. Every year it goes up about $8 a cubic yard. And for this much concrete, I couldn't tell you how many cubic yards it takes to build this wall, but
right.
Even $8 a yard is going to bump it up quite a bit. And we're not only seeing it just on, we're seeing that on all construction that involves concrete. In fact, it's not only concrete anymore, but even wiring and lumber. We don't have any of that in this contract, but
so how much over is or how much older is our engineering estimate than the time that we finally went out to bid with this? Because I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, it was last year when we put the estimate.
So it's just together. 1 year older.
And lumber costs though have dramatically increased in this last year. Along with cement too. So I'm not surprised.
In fact, we have friends in the business who can't even get equipment as building equipment, and they actually own a giant warehouse. So all construction costs have just escalated in enormous amounts.
Yeah, and that's something that we wouldn't have anticipated last year when we put this together. It's really been phenomenal.
Okay, so I'm just going to say, I guess I've done my due diligence here and I'm ready. I'm okay. We need to do it. It's within range considering the changes that have happened. And it's a little further off than I like. You'd like to be pretty close, but
we'd like to have last year's bid, but it isn't.
Well, but you'd like to say that it was within 10%, and it's, because when you get beyond that, you start to wonder if there was just any comparison, or if you were just getting, because the industry is difficult right now. So I get it.
I don't see it getting better either.
No, I don't either.
So it's not we'll make it.
And I think now that we have a public bid out there too, I don't know that helps us either if we rebid and wasted more time and delay this. It'd be pretty obvious about where we're looking at.
Jordan, you're quiet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I actually think, again, it's all been said already. It would be nice if we had a second bid because we've seen the range we see in bids, but given that we only have one, you have a choice of one, which means I'll go ahead and make the motion to authorize administration to award the contract for a public works shop wall project as outlined on the agenda.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Cassie, that passed unanimously. Let's go to item number 8. Brody, you're doing this one?
Actually, I was going to pass the mic over to Garrett. That's
To
okay.
Garrett? Okay.
On the next 2 items.
Is Garrett here or Heath?
He's here.
Oh, yeah, they're both here.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that. Yeah, for the bicycle one, I'll default to Heath on this one. He has all the information.
Okay, this is the
We're
animal
on the-
control.
Pest
Oh, well,
pet control.
Then let's go with me.
Since you're here.
Yeah. So basically, this is just our annual review of the animal control contract that came out. Noting on this one that it was actually supposed to be a new contract, but they, I think it's probably due to like the abrupt change in leadership up there, that they probably tried to just seek a 1-year extension on this until they could get their feet on more solid ground. So it basically just outlines what it is that we'll be paying for. And this year, oddly enough, it represents a decrease in the amount versus last year's annual contract. The primary reason was due to the reduction in wildlife calls. So, and that was probably due to the fact that they stopped doing nuisance animals.
I'll just jump in here and say, anytime we get a break on this contract, because this one has gone up every time we've seen it, and it's been considerable. So I'll just jump right in and say yes for this, because we don't ever get a break on this stuff.
So maybe I've not been tied in as much as I should be. What happened to leadership, and what risk do we carry from this?
I think you're on mute, Garrett.
Sorry, they had a change in their leadership at animal control.
All right.
As a side note, there's also legislation being discussed during this session for a county to have a dedicated tax levy for animal control.
Nice.
And so they're working through
More?
a scenario where the county would continue with animal control under a separate tax levy, kind of like like the library or health department and things like that.
Mosquito abatement?
Well, mosquito abatement's a totally different entity.
True, okay.
But it is like that in the fact that it's a separate line item on the tax.
Right.
And there may be some requirement in the legislation, we don't know how it's going to shake out, where the cities might have to reduce our levy, our tax levy, in order to shift it to the county. There's some negotiations going on, but we can talk about that at a later time. This is just for this contract.
Well, my feeling is anytime we don't have to pass on continual yearly increases to our citizens, that's a blessing for us not to have to explain consistent, because as I was reading through this, it's going up again, and it went up. And the only reason there's a decrease is because they didn't do as many services. So it's just hard when we have to pass along inflation for every single entity that we tax for or fine or get fees from.
Yeah, I think the closer the fee to the entity charging it, the better.
Mm-hmm.
They can be responsible for it.
Let them explain that.
Yeah.
Jordan, are you comfortable with the motion?
Am I comfortable? Has someone made a motion?
No, they haven't. I'm asking
Mayor,
you.
can I add one thing first?
Yes.
Just as a reminder to the council, this is a calendar year contract. So when you see animal control come up in our budget, it will be more than the amount that you see on this because we have to anticipate an increase for next year for the first 6 months. So
Thanks, Garrett.
thanks,
Yeah.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
No.
I know that there's still discussion at the county about the possibility of making this a special service district. I don't know if that's ever going to go anywhere. I keep hearing it come up. And so I know there's at least one commissioner really pushing for that to be the future. If that were to happen, good, bad, or otherwise, at least it would be more directed at where this is coming from and who's making the decisions on that. So
in the meantime, it's a service we would like to continue to be provided in the
you can't
community.
be without.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we authorize the administration to execute amendment number 6 to interlocal cooperation agreement for animal service with Davis County.
Okay, do I have a second? I have a second from Corinne. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was unanimous, Cassie. And Heath, you're up.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yep.
So every year we get several bikes turned in throughout the city into our lost and found. And so as we done in the past, and you guys have approved in the past, so I think everybody, but I don't know if Seth was involved last year or not, but a lot of these bikes are they're in pretty bad shape. So we like to turn them over, and what the CJC, the Children's Justice Center in Farmington, what they do is they end up fixing these bikes up, and then they ended up selling them and using that money towards different resources there at the Children's Justice Center.
Nice. You couldn't go for a better cause. Thank you.
Yep.
That's great.
I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I vaguely remember this and the animal control when I first started on council, and I was reading about like riling up snakes and giving up go-karts and all kinds of stuff. And it was just a lot of, drinking from a fire hose. But I think this one makes perfect sense and is a great endeavor. Happy to support it.
I just ask, as always, that we try to get an announcement in the magazine when their auction is, just so that our community can be participants. It's one of those things that gets little publicity, and sometimes it would benefit them to have more people go to the auction.
You bet. Once that flyer is emailed, I'll work on getting it in the Syracuse Connection magazine.
Thank you, as always. Thank you.
Yep.
When is the auction, by the way? Because
it's usually the end of April, 1st of May. I don't have a
good.
specific date right now.
you have plenty of time then. You just
Yep.
need to get in 15th of the months before then. Sweet. Or even the months before that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Corinne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Let's go to item 10. Proposed ordinance 2021-05, amending sections 1120.010, 1120.050, 1120.060, 1120.070, 1120.080, and 1120.100 relating to on-street parking regulations prohibiting overnight parking during the winter months and applying parking restrictions for heavy vehicles to non-residential areas. And Paul and Noah, are you doing this together? Are you tag teaming this one?
I think I'll probably just handle it unless Noah,
Okay.
Yeah, Noah can jump in, but
I'll be
yeah, so
available if there's any
I made these changes. I mean, these incorporate the changes that Noah had for you redlined before. And then this was based on my notes from our work session. Hopefully I got the council's intent right. If not, we can always change it. But yeah, as the memo lays out, the main changes are, as discussed, no overnight parking during the winter hours. I just picked some hours, 1 to 6. I was initially did midnight, but I thought, well, New Year's Eve, so let's make it 1. And then 6 a.m. if that's too late, we could always do 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 or something like that. But Those are the hours that I picked there. And then the other thing that we didn't discuss as I was doing the drafting, we got to the 48 hours thing. We have a thing currently in our code that says you can have an inoperable vehicle parked on the road for up to 7 days. And I think that was a couple of years back we talked about it. And then the idea was if your car breaks down, you get a flat tire, maybe you can't fix it right away. Let's give people more time to get it fixed. I didn't know if you wanted to allow inoperable vehicles to be on the road for 7 days, but operable vehicles only 2 days, if you think that was equitable. So I just have it redlined for now, but if you want to keep it in, that's fine too. I just, it made sense to me to just, let's treat all vehicles the same, whether inoperable or operable in that case. But that's about it. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Lisa, do you want to lead us out?
Yeah, that was my only question. If we wanted to discuss the need to have it there for longer than the 48 hours, if a week is more fair. But I don't know how the ordinance officer would even be able to discern which is which. Would he have to go to the door and ask if this is an operable vehicle and give them a time date on that? I mean, maybe there would just be a paper and a warning that they would put on the windshield or something. I'm not sure how that would go, but that was my one question. Everything else is great. I think the 1 to 6 is fair. And the dates for the winter months, we already discussed all that. So what are your thoughts? I'm not sure how I feel about if we need to redline the 1 week.
I think it addresses your question of whether knowing it's operable or inoperable and not having to deal with that as a problem because they're all treated the same. So I think
so just get rid of the week and go to 48.
I think we have to treat them all the same. And
right.
Just because your vehicle's inoperable doesn't mean you can't get it off the street.
Well, and it's going to help staff time too. So let's treat them with the respect that we would expect as well and not drag this on forever and ever,
The only question I really had on any of this, so originally I was the one that proposed the one for overnight parking. And where I grew up, it was 11 p.m. And admittedly, New Year's, you don't go out and enforce the New Year's thing. I guess if it's 11 p.m., I don't know. I'd hate to have, I guess either way it's overnight, but are we okay with 1 or do we want to put it 11?
I think the 1 is reasonable. I mean, I don't know, on weekends, my kids' curfew's at midnight. So if they're parking on the street, I don't want them getting a ticket for an hour, while they're at their friend's house.
Okay.
So.
I'd rather have it be midnight because I don't think that we're going to go around right at midnight, rounding up every vehicle that's on the street for a ticket. I think that it's just a more, I would rather it be midnight. And I'd actually rather it go a little bit later into the morning because we're only dealing with people who are parking over an extended period of time, not people who are parked there for 5 minutes. So
see, what I was trying to do is cover when snow plows would be moving.
Right.
Because snow plows start generally pretty early. And a lot of time, what we're trying to catch with this is, our intent of this is not just to deal with, one troublesome area. We're trying to make sure that when snow plows have to operate and people maybe didn't know it was going to be snowing overnight, that our snow plows can operate safely. And so I'd like to give those as much time as possible. So I was thinking, that's why I said, what time do our snow plows usually start? Do they start at 11 p.m. or do they start at?
I think that's weather driven. That's completely weather driven, isn't it?
Yeah.
So right now we're giving snow plows really only 5 hours to where they should have, clean streets without people being able to park there. I'd kind of like to.
That's why I say midnight.
That just a little bit more.
Wait. Except the ordinance says during snow there is no parking on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stays.
I agree that's still there, but this is just to cover. This is your belts and suspenders.
I bet Robert knows some feedback on the plows.
Yeah, let's hear from
I
Robert.
want to know, Dave's right, storms come when they should come. But when they come overnight, most of the times I get calls are right around like 2 a.m. that's waking me up. A lot of those storms kind of really just come in the early hours in the morning, and then they continue through all morning. this year and last year has been very different though. A lot of the storms have begun around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and continued through the workday and are done by 5. So it's kind of,
Weird.
They like the
varies.
working man this year.
Yeah.
But does 1 to 6 meet your need on the not so strange years?
As far as times, yeah.
Or would you rather it be like 11 to 7?
Well, I always tell my kids, check out the weather before you park on the street. I mean, I do.
I wish everyone did that, Corinne.
Well, that's what responsible citizens should do. I'm just saying, that's what the warning is. The laws are for responsible ones, not for the irresponsible, well, vice versa.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, as far as plows go, I am okay with any one of your, I know that it's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but what we see most of the times, let's say when I'm plowing in the morning, is when a parked car is there and you can clearly see snow on the car, but underneath there's no snow, it's very obvious that they were there overnight. And so whether they started parking there at 2 a.m. or whatever time,
Okay.
it's easy for enforcement to determine that they were there overnight.
Okay.
So as far as an enforcement goes, I think you could probably pick any time as long as it's that overnight time.
All right,
So-
I guess this works then.
Let's
Thanks,
let's
Robert.
give them a time then. Are you
I'd
happy
go
with
for
Paul's?
midnight just because it's easy. It's that 0 hour.
Can
I
can
mean,
we
that's
all
just universal.
can we all agree with midnight?
Sure.
I think that's a good compromise.
And let's give them an AM.
I think the 6
I-
is good.
Good.
6 is okay.
6.
Okay, all right.
And with the agreement that we won't take anyone on New Year's Eve.
On New Year's Eve or Christmas.
Like holidays, yeah, we're kind of avoiding those lengthy holidays.
I think they're more worried about drunk driving those holidays anyway.
As
Yeah.
a practice, just so you know, as a practice, I've never sent out enforcement on holidays. I think it's just
Yeah,
bad. It's bad PR.
Yeah.
Are you
Are we
are you comfortable acting on this tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am with
Okay.
that change to
Okay.
midnight because it's just the universal hour. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
I make the motion that we approve this with the change to midnight instead of 1 a.m.
All right.
Second.
Second by
Second.
Gordon.
Jordan. Second by Jordan. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Okay, Paul, could you make those changes?
Yeah, I'll make those and send them to Cassie.
Okay. Okay, let's move to item number 11, proposed resolution R21-3, reaffirming the city mission statement and updating the 10-year vision statements of the citywide for each department. And Brody, this was from our strategic planning meeting.
That is correct. So what I've done here is updated the language. Really, the only thing we changed here was in the 10-year citywide vision statement. So in the packet, I have that according to what we settled on at the retreat. So if there's any other questions, I can take those now.
think it looks great. Thank you for making those changes, Brody.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time on this, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve resolution 21-03.
Okay, thank you, David. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilwoman Bolduc. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you record that one as unanimous? Okay. We're down to item 12, a discussion and action regarding real estate purchase contract related to property at 555 West, 2525 West. And Miss Blickfield commented to this morning, or I mean earlier in the evening. And then this is Paul and Robert. Can you lead us through this one?
Yeah, I can start this one out. So back in 2018, the city had purchased the 555 West house because it was up for sale, and also because it was on our transportation impact fee plan as land that was identified that needed to be acquired for right-of-way widening. for 500 West. So rather than have a new family move in and then try to arrange a land acquisition after new family moved in, council approved us to go ahead and acquire that 555 home. Also, in the meantime, the Blickfelds had contacted the city and it got transferred to me to give them information. They were asking about a potential road widening. I think they must have gotten rumblings. They were also thinking about remodeling their house at 508 and weren't sure if they should invest in that or not. They got to a point they were interested in selling rather than being in limbo, not knowing when this project, construction project, would actually happen. So the city acquired the 508 house as well. It left the Blickfelds with a place to look. They love Syracuse, and they love the neighborhood, and they love the idea of being able to move not too far away and still live in this great city we have in the same neighborhood. So they rented the home at the 555 with the intent to purchase the home when they were able to. So we have let's see, I think it started last November or December 2019 that they started, and then with an intent to purchase in May. Their finances weren't ready, or it was some job changes that they needed some additional time. So then the lease went to a month-to-month lease until we got to this point where now we're ready to pull the trigger on selling the house, and they are ready to buy the house. And it also looks like they've got their mortgage lender also on the phone or on the video chat too. So, I mean, if you have any questions, you can always address them, but that's a little bit of the background.
Paul, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
I don't, thank you.
Okay. All righty. Dave, do you want to lead us out here?
If it's just as Robert concluded, that they're ready to buy and we're ready to sell, we're not in the business of owning houses, so I'm ready to move on and get out of this house as quickly as we can.
Any other comments?
So one of the items we're supposed to do for this act, as I read through the action items, is we need to first determine whether we want to sell it. Yes, we do. But we also need to make sure we put a hard expiration date on the acquisition. For that, in the packet, it says if buyer's not able to complete the transaction in February, then we recommend that we would conclude our arrangement with them and put the whole home up for sale through a request for bids. I think that's reasonable. I hope that everything works out, but at some point, we don't have to cut any losses, because really we could put this in the open market right now and actually get significantly more than the agreed upon price. But I do want to, the way we went about this was to try and avoid eminent domain, which is a very expensive process. So we are grateful to the Blickfelds for working with us on that. So for that reason, I'm willing to go ahead with the arrangement as stated. I think we can get the council's approval, but we do want to put that hard deadline at the end of February.
Well, I will speak up and say that I am a little bit concerned with what was said at the first of the meeting, and that is that real estate transactions are a little bit more complicated right now during COVID because they've made it a little more requirements. So I want to be just sensitive to that we allow enough time to get this done for them.
I was going with
whatever that
recommendation. And
is that something?
Yeah, if 3 weeks isn't feasible, okay, I would accept another date, and I'd be willing to work with them. But at some point, we have to move forward on this. We can't just hold this out indefinitely.
I agree, but you've always got to allow, I think, at least 4 weeks for real estate transactions, because there's always that extra little bit. I've never
heard that before, but okay.
Okay. I just every time I bought a house and I had family in the title business, they said, you know, you always got to leave yourself a buffer week because
Are we
paperwork.
and are we in the due diligence period right now? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, so they've been working with this mortgage lender since January. And
then they've had time. Okay.
And they've had some time. And the mortgage lender is Benjamin Bushell, and he's actually on right now if you wanted to ask him.
I'd like to hear from the mortgage lender to see what the feasibility is for having it done by the end of the month.
Ben, do you want to unmute yourself and join the discussion?
Yep, I can do that. I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys tonight. So yeah, we are mid-process. What we are currently in needing right now is just an updated addendum REPC signed by the mayor, and we should be able to close by the end of the month. I don't foresee that being a major issue. We've already cleared all of the requirements for income and employment. So it's really just making sure all of the title and making sure the REPC is signed and it's set up in a way that the lenders will accept. So that's kind of where we are right now. So I don't think putting a hard deadline by the end of the month is unreasonable. If you gave us 30 days, I'm good with that. We should be able to do that, no problem.
Is the title search any longer than, I mean, how long is your title search, do you expect?
We just recently did it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, you know, because the city just had one. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, we have, the title's already been started. What we require right now is from the lender itself. They're requiring an updated REPC, an addendum, just working out some of the details with the original rental contract and then the seller contract so that they all agree together. Once I have that, then we're kind of off to the races, and that's the last big hurdle that I currently have to fulfill before we can get final underwriting conditions.
Okay. I would propose 30 days from now.
I do too. Yeah, that's the 30 days, that gives them a little more than the end of the month, and 30 days should be
It's still,
Is
yeah,
there
it's still a hard line.
I make that motion that we give them 30 days to follow through with this process and be done.
Thank you, David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Not hearing any. Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Okay, we're to item 13. I'm going to begin this, and then I'm going to turn this to Paul. You'll remember, council, that we met and discussed our current city manager's contract about a month ago, and I'd like permission as the mayor to execute an amendment to the contract of our city manager. So Paul, do you want to lead us through this and with the work you've done with Brody?
Sure. Yeah. So just if you wanted to go through the red line, I don't know if I could share my screen or if someone who can share their screen could do it. Oh, looks like I can. Okay. Let me just get that pulled up. Okay. So yeah, just going through here, you know, instead of it being new employment, it's continued employment. We've got, just scrolling through, you know, it's minor things. So resignation or retirement, just looking forward to the future. Hopefully Brody sticks with us long enough to get to retirement rather than resignation. Always good to plan for the best. And then we've got on section 4, these are the main changes here. So we've got, except in cases of dismissal for felony convictions or judicial removal, which are kind of the two ways that he would be removed against his will. The third would be, you know, just termination by the council, which the council can do with the mayor's, the mayor and the council can do that together. In the case of a, you know, a non-felony, non-judicial removal termination, he'd be entitled to severance pay. That would include, and we've got a lot of red lines and things in here, but essentially he gets unpaid salary and benefits that might be due. So if he's worked, you know, half a week or something, he gets those. And then he also gets 10% of accrued sick leave. That's the same amount that we get when we retire under the personnel manual. And then all accrued vacation leave, he also gets that. Vacation leave is capped at around 250 hours. Sick leave is capped much higher, over 2,000 hours. But again, 10% of that's not not going to be as much. And then also part of the severance would be a lump sum equal to 6 months plus 1 additional month for every year of service completed beyond 6 years. So he's at 6 years now. So that means if he were to work for an additional 6 years, he'd get to that 12 months of severance. And that's where it caps. It doesn't keep going up and up and up unless he negotiates with the council in 6 years and convinces them to do otherwise. And then any benefits like health, dental insurance and things, we'd still continue to pay that for 6 months following termination. So he can stay on the health plan and dental plan while he makes other arrangements to get that kind of coverage. We also addressed in here, if we're terminated on those grounds of felony conviction or judicial removal, I thought it'd be helpful to have a little more of this fleshed out. There's a specific statutory mechanism to remove officers through judicial process. So we have kind of the different stages of the case. It's the way that, what is a felony conviction? That's, entry of a sentence for the conviction, or a plea of guilty, no contest, or a dismissal. That's the end of the case. And that would not be a grounds to terminate if it was just dismissed. And then judicial removal, also that's the end of it. In the meantime, he can be placed either on paid or unpaid leave at the council's discretion. And that's mostly it. Salary, we just amended it to say, initially, that was how he was initially came on at 90,000. There were scheduled increases. And then we have in here B that it would be an agreed amount. So every year you would be asked to address his salary. Took a couple things out like the relocation reimbursement. He's already relocated and we're not going to pay for him to move again. And then cell phone service, that was a unique thing to him. We now have this in our personnel manual for officers who want to use their personal cell rather than have a city cell. So we just removed that because it's already available. Yep. And then updated address, and that's about it. Any questions?
Looks great. I'm grateful that Brody is willing to, that these are all of his demands. Thank you. That's really reasonable.
Jordan, do you want to lead us out with this one?
Oh, and he wants a Lamborghini. Sorry, I forgot.
I would like Brody to turn on his camera for this.
It's in the fine print.
Space as we go through this.
You just want to see my
I do.
My face, huh? There I
Wait,
am.
is Brody in Hawaii? Man,
yeah.
We're paying him too much, I guess.
That's actually Antelope Island.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I believe that's Buffalo Point.
I only go to exotic places, Seth.
So if I'm leading it on this, I think this is more than fair. We've got a great city manager. If you try and exercise any of these, Brody, I'm going to be really upset, especially with the felony conviction. Let's steer clear of that one.
And I am in no position to retire, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. So now, fundamentally, I think this is a good and fair compensation for a great city manager. So thank you for your service. Unless others want to praise and laud Brody on his efforts, I'm willing to make a motion, but I'll let others.
I want to praise and laud him.
All right, go ahead.
And loud praise. There we go. There. No.
I want to just let you know that
as
as typical, I didn't get my way. I wanted a very strict clause that prohibits you from getting ill or dying while in office.
Oh, that would be nice.
Absolutely prohibited. We can't live without you.
I would be in favor of that as well. No.
That would be good.
Thank you all. I just want to appreciate everybody being able to work with me on this. And the intent here on the severance is to not use it. That's the whole purpose of it. It's meant to just allow any issues to be worked out so that it doesn't have to be used. So thank you for that.
All right, Jordan.
Okay, then if there's no others that want to praise and laud Brody, I'm sure they all do. They're just holding their peace because they were all very high in their praise during our meeting. Anyway, I would like to authorize Mayor Gelly to execute an amendment to the Syracuse City Employment Agreement for City Manager Bovero.
I have a second.
Second.
Second by Corinne. Any further discussion? Third?
Yeah, I'll third it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And
Thank you.
Council, I want to thank you too. Brody's my best crutch. And I couldn't do this without Brody. So thank you for allowing me that crutch. We're at the point where we would like to talk about mayor and council announcements.
I think we're actually to public comment, Mayor.
Oh, yes, we
Item
are.
14.
Thank you for the correction. Yep. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment with anything that we have discussed?
I don't see any raised hands, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Jordan, for keeping me on track. I will now close public comment. Let's talk about council reports. And Corinne, you're in that position. I'm just going to go across the top.
Okay. Well, it's been a busy day. So started out with CTC, and I'm very excited to say that we've decided to officially pinpoint, at least to begin with, Sunset Elementary for our Big Brothers Big Sisters program. And we are, which we're looking for 30 families ages 7 to 17. And so obviously it, eventually it'll move beyond elementary, but right now that's where we're going to begin. We are looking for the ability to get more information out about the Spanish version Incredible Years, to assist those families in helping with parenting and so forth, but towards the Hispanic population. And that starts right away on the 15th. So if you know of any groups that have that, barrier or speaking Spanish, we're looking to get that information to them right away. And Jess is going to be handing out or emailing out a flyer with PDF on that. So please let us know if you have access to contacts within that community. Also, I had a museum meeting today, and they're just amazing group. I have to pull up my notes here. They have, first of all, one of the big things that they talked about was they have 332 dolls that were donated to them by a family. I didn't quite catch the name of the family. Anyway, but they really don't have the room to display them. So they've all been stacked up like in their boxes and everything. And they're all porcelain dolls. Most of them range from the cheapest being about $100 up to about $300 a piece. So these are not like dolls that you play with or give to a little toddler. Anyway, so they spoke with the family and they got permission from them to actually sell them and or do other items with them, do other such things with them because of the fact that they want them enjoyed rather than sitting in boxes in a dark room. So they're talking about doing a combination of auctioning, public auction, and also having a portion of them just for our community to observe and to purchase, and then also possibly reserving some of them for rewards for service projects that people are doing. There was discussion about, I don't know if a scout group would really like a doll. So anyway, but that is what they're going to do, a combination of those things with these dolls because they desperately need the money for more things. Speaking of bunnies though, they got a $1,500 grant from Costume Society of America in order to help restore some of their textiles. So both with dresses, clothing, pillows, couches, anything with material, fabrics, including and the quilts and stuff. So they have pinpointed a couple of things that they are really in need of repair right now. Like for instance, they have a wedding dress out in the main area that needs it's really old and needs repair right away. Then lastly, and most excitedly for all you men, listen up, they're going to have a blacksmith shop demonstration. So if you ever watch Forged in Fire, they're going to be getting a blacksmith / forger to come and do some of those things and light up the fire at the forge because it is a working forge in the museum. So I'm not sure when the date on that is. It's going to depend on getting that person, but the board approved that situation. They have lit it up before. They said it does kind of cause a little smoky mess for the rest of the museum. It takes a little bit to clean up, but they are more than willing to do it and feel like it'd be well attended. So please get the information out when we get more towards that date. We're very excited to for how they're trying to involve the community in more and more of these events. Oh, and submit your recipes right away, please. Okay? All right. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Corinne. Lisa?
That was a great report. Okay, I just have a couple of things. We went yesterday to see the park maintenance facility in West Jordan. No, West
Valley.
Thank you. I knew it was, yep. And it was actually from one of the architects we've looked at that submitted a bid. And so it was really interesting, really great use of money. And we were able to see all the things that we would want for our own building as well. So that was very helpful to see it in real time and real life, and also to have had it completed within the last year. So we know where we are. You know, if it was more than a couple of years ago, we would be really far out of line with costs. So that we did that yesterday. The other thing is, and I was in on the CTC meeting, but I don't have anything to add to Corinne's report. And then I've been contacted by a spokesperson for Comcast who would like to be on our next work meeting to maybe give a small presentation, which is basically the other side of the utopia equation, or discussion. So I would like to hear from both sides. And I know that Brody said he had been contacted by somebody who wants to get some information out to us as well. And so I don't know if this is the time to ask to have that put on the agenda for the next meeting, but I do think that we should hear both sides.
Brody, what did we do there? Did we put that on the agenda with both of those?
We can. I don't know. I have to look at
Cassie?
the agenda, see if Cassie knows.
Yeah, I can add it to the calendar. I saw Lisa's email, but I didn't see a response saying to for sure put it on the agenda. But yeah, I'll add it to you if you'd like.
With Brody having a second, maybe we could do both of those together.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So do you want me to get in contact with the person who I spoke with on the phone and who emailed me?
Lisa, that would be really helpful. And if they wanted to provide any information for the packet, we can include it.
Contact you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then
And
that's our next work meeting, is that right?
Yes.
The next work meeting is February 23rd.
Okay.
If
Great.
you want, Lisa, you can forward me their contact information and I can organize the
Great.
stuff for the agenda.
Is this someone you know, or
Oh,
has someone reached out to you?
Somebody reached out to me and they had been listening into our previous meeting and were concerned that there were areas that were not getting the signal that they expected them to. So he asked to have a minute of our time to kind of address some of the issues that have been brought up. So I just thought it was important for us to see both sides and to hear from
Absolutely.
them. So, okay, great. That's all I had. Thank you.
David?
Yeah, glad to hear the museum's doing well. In their presentation, I noticed my artifact that I donated prominently featured. So happy about that.
It looks good in there. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I'm happy. And so anyway, the sewer board meets on Thursday. One thing I do want to bring up, we will be reviewing one of our primary items that we're going to be discussing will be updating our policy on when other owners, whether it be cities or utilities, knowingly interfere with existing sewer lines. This has not been a problem in our city. And so this is a shout out to Robert and his staff that are very well versed and do good inspections to make sure that we're not installing things in ways that interfere with existing lines. But quite a few of the updates that we've done have exposed, particularly up around the highway, some areas where people installed things in a very unsafe way. And the consequence, people have just kind of walked away and said, wasn't us, wasn't them, nobody takes the credit, trying to get the sewer district to fund all of the replacement and repairs. So we're going to be addressing that policy on Thursday and try to make sure that we're very clear on what we'll accept responsibility for, because that continues to go on. If anybody has any questions about that, you can reach out to me. The Arts Council is preparing for a summer season where we will be COVID restriction free. Now, I'm very cautious and say that, and Crest and I both have noted that between now and whenever, we just have to live with the restrictions that are in place. But they're very optimistic and want to proceed under the basis that they're assuming that in months to come, everything will be lifted. We'll see how that goes. And that's it from me.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Jordan?
So it's also been a fairly busy couple of weeks. I have had the opportunity to go with staff to tour 2 EOCs. We are currently in the process of putting together a plan to, as you guys all know, revamp our current EOC. And I want to thank the staff for their diligence in trying to find the best possible solution to serve our city the best. We've gone through a couple of EOCs, one of which was way more than we needed, but they had some amazing ideas that could be implemented into our EOC that really help facilitate our ability to respond in a disaster. So I've been working through that. Also had the opportunity with Lisa, we've been reviewing bids for the park maintenance facility. And again, kudos to the staff for being able to locate we try to find facilities that were similar to what we were looking for, and from the people we are actually looking at contracting with. So we get kind of a hands-on approach to see what it is we think we'll be getting, and that's always a good thing. Beyond that, I've just been meeting with the various the community councils I'm assigned to, and looks like with the kids back in school, test scores have been moving back up again. So hopefully this will have not a lasting effect on our children from the time they were out of school. So overall, good things are happening. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Jordan. Seth?
Just 2 things. I put some information out there for you guys to see about the Business Economic Development and Labor Appropriations Committee I was following in regards to the fiber broadband and Wi-Fi allocation or appropriation request, the $50 million that it got prioritized number 7 on the building blocks ongoing request, which, I guess that's kind of a whatever it happens. But I was getting the impression that we're going to need to make the decision independent of that was a lot more rural based. And so I think that's something that we'll have coming up. And obviously that's in the works with the discussions on the upcoming work session. But there's a few other pieces of legislation that I was reviewing as well, coming out of one of the other committees that I think will be, I don't know if they'll be interesting or not, but I'll give you guys some updates on House Bill 17 and some other ones. I also got an email from Principal King at Cook Elementary. And it was, I don't know if you guys recall, last year around this same time, I gave this same or a similar report that one of their biggest challenges is getting information out to Stillwater to let them know that that is indeed their district or their boundaries. And they're just having a heck of a time kind of getting that pre-enrollment information out there for future kindergartners and such. And so anything we can do to kind of help share that information out. They talked about that they're going this next week, literally door to door with flyers from the school. And as if they don't have enough to do. I think that's just, indicative of the times we're in, but they're going to be going out sharing that information. Another challenge they talked about, and I'm not sure, I haven't verified because I can't find my Connections magazine, but they said that they're getting word in their community council that they are the only elementary school that's not in the Connections magazine. And Principal King's not a not a resident here, so he doesn't get the magazine to verify, but I think we need to get that information over there so that they can, maybe that's a place where we can share that, the boundary issue they're going through, or at least getting that information out from there. Other than that, they're still also having the issue with some of the traffic along the street there. And Brody and I were talking a little bit offline about how to resolve that as it's been kind of a danger. But I think other than that, that's it for me.
Thank you, Seth. Council, I don't have anything to share. Brody, do you want to share?
Monthly manager's report was sent out earlier today. As far as legislation that I'm following, House Bill 82, the accessory dwelling unit bill, that letter did go out. I think it was received and considered by the members of the political subdivisions committee. It did pass the committee, however, and I think there's still room for improvement. It looks like the sponsor of the bill is looking to continue to work with the League of Cities and Towns, but it looks like it's going to go to the House floor for a vote, and assuming it passes there, then we'll just have to deal with it in the Senate. The one bill that's the only other bill that's kind of caught our attention that's just now going to committee is House Bill 98. This is building code regulations. It basically allows developers to hire their own inspector for plan reviews and inspections. And so, you know, if you look at it from a perspective of, you know, this is the city does a third-party service. It's essentially a public safety function to ensure that buildings are built right, and to have a company that's, you know, beholden to the developer for their payments and that sort of thing. It's we think it creates a conflict, but we're watching it. It also eliminates the city's ability to regulate any design for any buildings. So that includes exterior, you know, our brick, rock, stone ordinance, landscaping requirements, things like that. So it seems like a pretty incendiary bill. I'm not sure if, I almost kind of wonder if they're serious, but you never know. It's written, so it is serious. So we'll continue to monitor that one. So just keep an eye out if I have anything to say about that on our team's channel.
That was a real worry. And then there was a billboard one that seems to be
allows them to replace them with electronic whenever they want.
Yeah, no matter
anywhere.
And that does impact the city. Syracuse does have some off-premise signs that could fall into that. So we should be aware of that.
Yeah. I have to ask, do you think that's a national trend to gut a building code type ordinance?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening in other states. And I think
and it's Paul Ray that sponsored it. Seriously, what's wrong with him? Sorry.
Yeah, it's
I'll say really, Phil.
Yeah, we see this pretty often, you know, during legislation where they really do reach down to the local level and try to regulate on our behalf, which they have the authority to do. But sometimes I wonder if they understand what that comes with when they, you know, I guess we just forward the complaints up to them.
I don't think they care. I really don't. They're sure they don't. Yeah.
It's pretty hard to actually have interaction with most of them. So yeah. I don't know that they care.
Oh, I know Ray Ward pretty well. I worked with his wife on it for years on some boards. So he's actually very reasonable. And so if we, you know, I can reach out to him directly, but I think it's more effective when you're an actual constituent of theirs and we're not his. So, but I appreciate Brody having written that letter for that 82, because that was, I do think that they're really reaching to try and stop the bad actor cities that are just making it impossible hopeful for development to happen, but the rest of us are not. And to have those stipulations that's really unfair, especially to our citizens.
Yeah, I mean, it takes away all city planning for the local city. And I think that city planning is the right of the city and the people who live there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a third substitute for House Bill 82, and it was a little better. They did allow the city to have some regulations on parking and things like that. So there was some movement on that bill.
So they don't want a parking regulation department at the state level?
Right. And so, we'll see how far they move as it goes through the House floor and the Senate. So.
Okay, thanks, Brody.
Okay. Any other discussion, council? I'd entertain a motion that put us adjourned this session and we reconvened in the RDA meeting.
So moved.
A motion by Dave. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jordan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now adjourned and we are reconvened in the RDA. Motion to adopt its agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Corinne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing and seeing none, that is passed. Let's go to item 2. This is you, Noah.
Yes, we've talked about this in the past. This would be an incentive for an office building. Post-performance incentive. The agreement is in the packet. There haven't been any changes since last time we talked about this. Yeah, any questions?
Looks good.
Seth, do you want to lead us?
No, yeah, that's fine. I think this is a good place to start. I know there was some language in there about potentially changing. The 75% was essentially a recommendation based on similar circumstances and other, I guess, our jurisdiction and such. But I think we stick with the conventional status right now and move forward. It makes sense. And this was our goal, was to incentivize office development. And so we need to get this off the ground, and this is the way we support it. This is the right way, I think, to use our RDA funds. And I'm excited about this. You can see it in my face.
Yes. Yes. Any other discussion?
I love it.
No, I agree. I think we need to move forward on this. I think this, with some rumors of additional large buildings going in, circulating on Facebook, I think this actually has potential as an asset to that as well, to kind of, add in some of those in advance, some of those items that I think will be in high demand with that facility.
I know that they will come, right?
I do think it is a risk right now for them, and anything we can do to incentivize continued progress and hope and optimism for the market to regenerate at some point, that's a good thing for us to use those funds for.
I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make the motion that we accept the incentive option for mixed-use office buildings, or at least I can't, hang on, maybe there's a more formal way to say that. Oh, that we accept proposed resolution RDA 21-01, authorizing the execution of an agreement tax for increment rebates.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, I didn't hear any opposition. That stands as unanimous from my ear. Council, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn, but ask you to get your running shoes on for 2 weeks. We're going to have both a business meeting and a work session next time. We've got critical items that we're going to have to take some action on. Plus, we're going to do some track running in that work session. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
A move.
Motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go to bed to sweet dreams. Good luck, Corinne. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh.